Hey there. If you enjoy powerful true stories with real emotions and unexpected twists, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm working toward my first 1,000 subscribers, and every click really helps this channel grow. Thank you for being here. Let's build this together. She walked through the door like she just came back from a vacation, not a client meeting. Her heels clicked on the hardwood, her lips were glossy, and her scent, God, that perfume, hit before I even turned my head. I'd been married to Rachel for 11 years, and I knew the scent she usually wore to meetings. This wasn't it. It was heavier, sweeter, more deliberate. "Hey, babe," she said casually, brushing her hair behind her ear, giving me that smile that used to stop me cold back when we were in college. Long day. Traffic was insane. "I'm gonna hop in the shower real quick. All right?" She didn't kiss me. I just nodded and kept my face straight. I didn't want to give anything away. Not yet. See, something had already been off. For the past 2 months, Rachel had been meeting clients more than usual. New names popped up. Late nights. A sudden obsession with gym classes and working late, always when I was home early. I wanted to believe it was just the stress of the new quarter. She worked in marketing. Sometimes campaigns meant after-hours brainstorming sessions. But then, that Tuesday night, I saw a text pop up on the home screen of her iPad while she was upstairs. Just the tail end of it. "Can't stop thinking about earlier. That perfume, damn." It wasn't addressed to her work chat. I didn't confront her. Not right then. I waited. I knew she had a lunch meeting Thursday with someone named Marcus from a potential new account. She was overly excited about it. Kept fixing her hair in the mirror that morning. Even asked if the blouse she chose looked too flirty. I thought it was a joke. I laughed. She didn't. She left around 11. I stayed home that day. Told my manager I had a stomach bug. I just had this gut pull. Like something was coming to us. When she returned around 3:30. Glowing like she'd won the lottery, I paid attention. And then I saw it. The bag. A soft, leather handbag with a thin gold chain. Rich brown color. I had never seen it before. It didn't match her usual style either. Rachel liked practical. This one screamed statement gift. "What's that?" I asked, acting casual. "Oh, this?" She laughed. "Oh, one of the clients gave it to me. Some new luxury brand he's pitching. Said it was a sample. Just PR." She shrugged and went upstairs. 10 minutes later, I heard the water running. I stood in the kitchen, staring at that bag. My stomach was tight, but my hands were steady. I walked over to the counter where she dropped it, opened the gold clasp, and peeked inside. Lipstick, compact mirror, sunglasses, and a white envelope. Just a small card neatly folded. I pulled it out. The front read, "To the most captivating woman in the room." I opened it. "Last night wasn't enough. You're dangerous in that red dress. Let's not wait another week. M." I just stood there, card in one hand, bag in the other. That red dress. She hadn't worn anything red in front of me in months. But I remembered seeing it in the laundry last week. Smelling of cologne that wasn't mine. M. I knew one M. Marcus Harding. Regional Director of Business Development. Married. With kids. Worked with us. And reported directly to our HR manager. I felt 1,000 things all at once. Rage. Sadness. Embarrassment. But most of all, clarity. I didn't shout. Didn't break anything. I simply took a photo of the card with my phone, put it back, and left the bag exactly where it was. When Rachel came down later, wrapped in her robe and acting like nothing happened, I asked if she wanted Thai or pizza for dinner. She chose pizza. I smiled and ordered her favorite. I watched her eat 3 slices and kiss me goodnight like nothing in the world was wrong. The next morning, I emailed HR. Told them I needed to talk about a workplace issue in person. Sensitive. Discreet. They scheduled me for noon. I didn't say a word to Rachel. Just told her I had a meeting and would be home later. She kissed my cheek and said, "You're always so reliable." At 11:58, I walked into HR with a sealed envelope. I sat down, smiled politely at our HR manager. Tom, a decent guy I'd known for years. "I'm going to let you read something," I said. "Then I'll explain." He opened it. Read the card. Paused. "Is this from Marcus?" he asked slowly. I nodded. "To my wife." Tom's face dropped. "Would you like to handle this internally, or should I?" I asked, folding my hands. "Because the director might want to be aware." Tom just nodded. This is serious. Give me a minute." He stood, walked out of the office with the card, and I watched him disappear down the hall toward our director's office. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt the beginning of something breaking, something permanent. But I wasn't done yet. Tom didn't come back for 20 minutes. That gave me time to sit in that quiet HR office and stare at the framed company values on the wall. Integrity, collaboration, excellence. Ironic, considering my wife had just thrown all three into a shredder without blinking. I could hear muffled voices from down the hallway, one sharp, one steady, then silence. I didn't know if Marcus was in the building yet, but I knew they'd bring him in, and that meant Rachel's world was about to start crumbling at the edges. I wasn't sure what I wanted out of this yet. Divorce? Revenge? Just the truth to finally leave her mouth? But I was sure of one thing. I didn't want to be part of a farce anymore. I wasn't going to play dumb husband while the two of them laughed behind my back. No more. The door finally creaked open and Tom returned, his face pale but composed. He shut the door carefully behind him. We're going to open an internal investigation. We'll speak to Marcus shortly. But I need to ask, do you want to take this further formally? I looked at him and thought about how many company picnics I'd stood next to Marcus, how many team-building events we'd sat through while he talked about family values. I'm not asking you to destroy his career, I said calmly, but I am asking the company to recognize what kind of people it's promoting into leadership. Tom nodded slowly. Understood. And Rachel, she doesn't know I found the card, I said. Not yet. You're planning to tell her? I gave a dry laugh. Oh, she'll know, just not from me. I think someone else should read it to her. That evening, I went home early and made dinner. Pasta, garlic bread. I even poured her a glass of wine before she walked in the door. She seemed surprised, like I was the one trying to make amends. What's the occasion? She asked, slipping off her heels. Just wanted to remind you how much I appreciate everything you do, I said. Work, home, all of it. She gave a nervous laugh, clearly unsure whether it was sarcasm or sincerity. That night, I pretended everything was fine. We watched some streaming show she liked. She cuddled up next to me. She didn't mention the bag, the meeting, or Marcus. I wanted her to. I wanted even a flicker of guilt in her eyes. Nothing. She was good. Too good. The next day, things began to move. Tom looped in the director, who was furious, not because of the affair, but because it could lead to legal liability. There was a company code of conduct, especially between supervisors and employees, even if the relationship was consensual. That's where it gets murky. That's where people lose jobs. I kept my distance from Rachel that day, just went through the motions. She was cheerful in the morning, sang while brushing her hair. I wondered how many other mornings had gone like this, how many times she'd looked me in the face and seen a fool instead of a husband. Around noon, I got the message I'd been waiting for. Meeting confirmed. 3:15 p.m. Small conference room B. You may attend. Silent observer. It was from Tom. My pulse quickened. Silent observer. That was fine. I didn't need to say a word. I just needed to be there. I showed up 10 minutes early. Tom and the director were already inside. At 3:14, Marcus arrived, clearly nervous, sweating through his collar. Then Rachel came in, fashionably late, still smiling like this was just a harmless check-in. When she saw me sitting at the table, her smile flickered. Just for a second. Caught it. She sat across from me. Her posture stiffened. Then the director began. Thank you both for coming. We're here to address a serious matter brought to our attention, concerning personal relationships that may be impacting the professional environment. Marcus, Rachel, we'll start by asking you both a direct question. They looked at each other, confused, before Marcus spoke. Wait, what's going on here? Tom slid the envelope onto the table. The card inside, still folded. Rachel, he said, please read what's inside, out loud. Her hands froze, then slowly reached out. She opened it. Her eyes moved across the words. Her face dropped. A pause hung in the room like a guillotine rope about to snap. She looked up at me. You went through my bag? I didn't answer. The director did. We're not here to discuss your marital issues. We're here to determine if this personal involvement between you and Marcus constitutes a breach of company ethics and policy. Wait, Marcus stammered. This was private. This wasn't. Mr. Harding, Tom said sharply. You're a senior employee. You understand our company's code. You knowingly engaged in a relationship with a subordinate during work hours and during off-site meetings billed to the company. Rachel looked stunned, pale. I didn't think that we'd find out, the director asked. That no one would notice the inconsistencies in scheduling, the overnight stays billed under vague project codes? We have access to all of it. The room fell silent again. Rachel looked like she might cry. Marcus looked like he might bolt. I stayed silent. Not a single word. I just stared at the card now laying face up on the table between us all. Red dress. Last night wasn't enough. A piece of paper more honest than any vow she ever made to me. Then the director looked at me. You've been more than patient. If you'd like to speak privately, I'm happy to offer that time now. I shook my head. No, let them sit in it. I stood, looked once at Rachel. She looked like she was about to reach out. Don't. I said quietly, and I walked out. I didn't know if they'd be fired, suspended, reassigned. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. What mattered was that it was no longer my secret to carry. The weight was off my shoulders, and I wasn't done reclaiming my voice. Not even close. The walk out of that conference room felt like surfacing after being underwater for too long. My chest burned. My hands were trembling, but not from rage. From release. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't bottling it in. I didn't slam doors or scream or send 1,000 angry texts. I let the truth do the talking. And now it was in the company's hands. Let them deal with the fallout. But exposing the affair was only part of what needed to happen. The emotional weight I'd carried didn't vanish just because they were caught. I still had to go home to the same house. I still had to look at the same furniture, the same framed photos on the hallway wall. Smiling wedding shots, beach selfies, holiday dinners. All of it now hollowed out by lies. And Rachel, she wasn't going to let it end quietly. I knew her. She'd come home. She'd spin. She'd cry. She'd twist herself into someone else just to survive the shame. I had to be ready for that. That evening, I didn't go straight home. I drove to my brother's place and just sat with him in silence. He didn't ask many questions. He just handed me a beer and turned the game on. Halfway through the second quarter, he finally said, "You sure this is the end?" I thought about that. Was it? Or was it the beginning of something even uglier? "I'm sure it has to be," I said. When I finally walked through my own front door that night, the house was too quiet. No TV. No Spotify playing from her phone in the kitchen. Just stillness. Her purse was on the counter, and her keys next to it. I almost called out her name, but I didn't. I walked to the living room and found her sitting on the couch, legs folded underneath her, wrapped in the throw blanket we bought last fall on our anniversary weekend. Her face was blotchy, eyes red. She'd been crying. Good. Maybe not enough, but it was a start. She looked up at me like a child caught stealing. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I didn't sit down. I swear, it started off innocent. Just talks. He was just someone who listened. Someone who saw me, and it got out of control. But I was going to end it. I just didn't know how. I raised an eyebrow. "You were going to end it? Before or after the next hotel receipt?" She flinched. I kept my tone level. "You didn't forget to take the card out of your purse, Rachel. You weren't planning to end it. You were just planning not to get caught." She stood now, wrapping the blanket tighter around her. "I was unhappy, okay? I felt invisible. Every day you came home, you were buried in spreadsheets talking about Q3 like it was our child. I just needed something." I laughed, bitterly. "So your solution was to sleep with my coworker? I'm not proud of it. That makes two of us." She stepped forward. "Please, just let's not throw away everything. Please." There was a time, God help me, when those words would have broken me. When I would have leaned into her arms, desperate to believe her version of the truth, to start over, to erase the betrayal with a romantic reset. But not this time. This time, I saw through it all. "I'm not throwing anything away," I said. "You did. I was lost." She whispered. I pointed toward the stairs. "You need to pack a bag." She blinked. "You're not sleeping here tonight. Or tomorrow. Maybe not for a while. I need space. Real space. And I need you to respect that." She opened her mouth to protest, but something in my voice must have told her not to. She nodded slowly, turned, and went upstairs. I sat on the couch. Same spot where we watched movies, where she'd curled up in my lap on cold nights. I stared at the floor until I heard her coming back down, duffel bag in hand. Mascara smudged from fresh tears, she paused at the door. "Do you still love me?" I looked up, met her eyes. "I think I used to love someone who looked like you, but that person didn't carry lies around in designer handbags." She left without another word. The days that followed were strange, like walking through a life that no longer belonged to me. Coworkers avoided eye contact. Marcus was suspended indefinitely. HR launched a full internal review. Rachel was on leave. My phone buzzed with messages I ignored. Apologies. Explanations. One from Marcus of all people. Just a pathetic, "I never meant for this to happen." I blocked his number. But one message I didn't ignore came from an old friend, Carla, who worked in our legal department. We'd known each other since the company's early days. She wrote, "Hey, I know this is messy, but if you ever need advice, or just a coffee, reach out." I took her up on that a week later. Not for romantic reasons. Just for the comfort of talking to someone who wasn't trying to manipulate or pity me. We met at a little coffee shop off Main Street. She didn't ask for the details. Just sat with me while I told her the truth. Not the HR version, not the marriage counselor version, the real one. The rage. The humiliation. The fear of being alone again at 42. The way every object in the house felt tainted now. Even the mugs. She just listened. That was enough. Eventually, I asked her, "Do you think people ever come back from this? I mean, really come back?" She stirred her drink. "I think people who face it head-on do. The ones who stop pretending and start rebuilding." "What if I don't know how to rebuild alone?" She gave me a soft smile. "Then you start small. Clean one drawer. Replace one object. One step at a time. Until the space feels like yours again." That night, I threw away the anniversary mugs. All of them. Bought new ones. Black, no writing, no memories. Just clean, simple, and mine. One drawer. One object. One step. And I wasn't done. The morning after tossing out those mugs, I woke up for the first time in weeks without that crushing weight on my chest. The house was still quiet, still haunted by echoes of laughter that used to fill the kitchen on Sunday mornings. But something in me had shifted. Maybe it was the act of reclaiming that single drawer. Maybe it was the fact that, finally, I wasn't pretending anymore. No more pretending to be happy, pretending not to notice, pretending that love can survive rot if you just close your eyes. I got up, made coffee in one of the new black mugs, and sat by the window. No phone, no emails, no Rachel. Just the steady hum of morning traffic outside and the silence I was learning to live with. By noon, I'd already cleared out the bookshelf in the hallway. It was filled with her paperbacks, her corporate trophies, her wedding keepsakes. I boxed up most of it, left a few classics I liked, and donated the rest. That afternoon, I pulled the sheets off the bed and bought new ones. Plain, dark gray, nothing flowery. It felt like erasing a presence without rage. Just quiet, methodical healing. I even bought new towels. A ridiculous thing to spend money on, I know, but I couldn't wrap myself in anything that once touched her skin. Not anymore. That evening, Carla texted again. Progress. I sent her a photo of the empty shelf and the new mugs. Her response, "Good, now take the night off. Come with me to that rooftop bar I told you about. Just fresh air, no drama. You need it." I hesitated. Socializing felt unnatural. But maybe that was the point. "All right," I texted back. "Just air. No drama." We met around 7. The place overlooked the city. Amber light washing over everything like the world itself was trying to remind me it wasn't always dark. Carla wore a dark blouse and jeans. Casual but elegant. She greeted me with a warm smile and 2 beers already on the table. "No wine," she said. "Too many memories. Beer's safer." I smirked. Agreed. We talked about everything but Rachel. Old office stories, mutual friends, even books. She was easy to be around. And maybe that's why it hit me harder when she leaned forward and asked, "What's next for you?" I looked out over the railing. "I don't know. Maybe finally travel. Or maybe just figure out who I am without being part of a we." She nodded. "That's a good start." We didn't touch. We didn't flirt. There was no subtext. Just 2 people sitting in the aftermath of separate storms, offering each other a dry place to land. The next morning, Rachel texted, "Can we talk? Please." I stared at the message for 5 whole minutes before replying, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my place, 1 hour." She showed up at 9:58, clutching a manila envelope. She looked tired. No makeup, hair pulled back. The woman I married, or a shadow of her. I let her in but didn't offer coffee. She sat on the edge of the couch like a stranger in a waiting room. I remained standing. "I'm not here to beg," she began. I owe you more than excuses." So I wrote it out. She handed me the envelope. I figured if I talked, I'd mess it up. I always do. But this is the truth. Start to finish. About him. About us. About why I became someone I don't even recognize. I didn't open it. I didn't want her version of the story right then. I wanted honesty. From her lips. Without rehearsed words. "I have one question," I said. "If I hadn't found the card, would it still be going on?" She hesitated. That tiny pause told me everything. "Probably," she whispered. I nodded. "Then it wasn't about you being lost. It was about you choosing the easier lie." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to hurt you. You did anyway." "I know." I sat across from her now. "Why him? Out of everyone." She looked away. "He made me feel seen. After everything, after we stopped really talking, he noticed things. My work, my ideas. You used to do that. And then it just became routine. And sleeping with him was your fix for that?" "No, that was the mistake. But the loneliness came first. That hit, because I had felt it too. The drift. The silence that grows louder when you stop really listening to each other. But I never crossed the line. I stayed. I tried. "I want a separation," I said calmly. "Official. And I'll be filing. I'm not dragging this out." Her eyes welled with tears. I figured. "I'm not doing this to punish you, Rachel. I just can't keep waking up next to someone I don't trust." She reached into her purse and pulled out a key. The spare to my parents' cabin? I'll stay there, she said. I'll give you space. You already have, I said. Now I'm taking it back. She stood. Will you read the letter? Eventually. She hesitated at the door. Do you hate me? No, I said. But I don't recognize you anymore. She nodded once. And then she left. That afternoon, I opened the letter. It was 6 pages long. Confessions, timelines, excuses, reflections. She cried in ink. She wrote about her guilt, her shame, her regret. She wrote about the night she realized she'd gone too far. The day she saw the card was missing. The fear she felt when HR called her in. She even wrote about Marcus, that it wasn't love, not even close. It was validation. And it came at the cost of everything real. I read every word. Twice. Then I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and stored it in a drawer I now called the past. One drawer at a time. The company officially terminated Marcus the following week. Rachel resigned. There was no big scandal, no headlines, just quiet exits. Tom thanked me privately for how I handled it, with calm, with maturity. I didn't feel proud. I just felt done. That Friday I returned to that rooftop bar. Alone this time, ordered a beer, watched the skyline, and for the first time since the day Rachel walked through our front door glowing with lies, I smiled. Not because I was over it, but because I was no longer drowning in it. The life we had was over, but mine wasn't. 3 weeks after Rachel left the house, I stood in what used to be our shared bedroom and realized it didn't feel like a battlefield anymore. The silence no longer screamed. The bed didn't feel haunted. I'd replaced the linens, rearranged the furniture, even repainted the wall a shade darker than she would have ever picked. For the first time, it felt like a room where I could sleep without dreaming of lies. And I had been sleeping, not always peacefully, but without the weight of suspicion crushing my chest at 3 a.m. That in itself was progress. The divorce papers were ready. I had them printed, signed, and sitting in a folder on the dining table, waiting for Rachel's signature. I hadn't rushed her. I gave her time, not because I owed her anything, but because I didn't want this to become another performance. I needed it to end quietly, like the last page of a book that you know won't ever get a sequel. She texted that morning, "I'll be by around noon to sign. I won't stay long." That was fine by me. I made coffee, cleaned the kitchen out of habit, and waited. When she arrived, she didn't knock. She still had her key, but the way she opened the door was tentative, like she already knew it didn't belong to her anymore. She looked thinner, quieter, more like someone who had lived in regret for too long. She didn't say much, just took the pen I handed her, flipped through the folder, and signed where I'd marked the lines with little yellow tabs. No crying, no speeches, just ink and paper and the slow unraveling of a life we built on a foundation that eventually cracked. Afterward, she lingered for a moment by the doorway. "You really meant it," she said, half to herself. "You're not looking back." "No," I said, "not anymore." "Was there someone else?" she asked, her voice small that I almost laughed. The irony was unbearable. "No," I said, "but there is someone. Me." She blinked, caught off guard. I continued. "For years I stopped seeing myself. I was so busy being your husband, your fallback, your safe space, that I forgot I was a person with limits. You didn't break me, Rachel, but you reminded me where my boundaries are." She nodded slowly. "I hope you find peace." "I already did," I said. "Now I just want to keep it." She left without another word. And just like that, it was done. No slamming doors. No final screaming match. Just the quiet ending of something that should have ended the moment I found that card in her purse. That evening, I went to dinner with Carla. She'd been a quiet presence these past few weeks. Never pushy, never overstepping, just there, like a lamp that didn't try to be the sun. I appreciated that more than she knew. We went to a little Indian place she liked. Sat on the patio. The sky was orange and fading into violet, like the universe was pulling down the curtain on that chapter of my life. She raised a glass. To new beginnings. I raised mine. And to learning when to walk away. We didn't talk about Rachel. We didn't need to. Carla told me about her plans to move closer to her sister, maybe even take a break from corporate law. I listened, genuinely interested, and realized I wasn't dragging my past into every conversation anymore. It was still there, yes, like a scar, but it wasn't the center of everything. It wasn't the headline. I was learning to speak in present tense again. The next day, I donated the last of Rachel's clothes from the back closet. Kept nothing. Not even the scarf she forgot behind the couch. I cleaned out the garage, reorganized the kitchen, rearranged the living room. It felt like preparing a space for someone I hadn't fully met yet. Myself. A week later, Tom from HR emailed me a simple note. "Final case review closed." Appreciate how you handled everything with professionalism. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. That world, the one where I smiled at office parties while my wife smiled at another man behind my back, was over, and I wasn't nostalgic for it. I didn't want justice anymore. I had closure. That was enough. One Saturday morning, while walking through the local farmer's market, I saw something unexpected. Marcus, alone, wearing sunglasses and trying not to look around too much. He saw me before I saw him, froze like a man about to be struck by lightning. I could have said something, could have thrown a punch, caused a scene, called him out in front of strangers. But I didn't. I just stared for a moment, then turned away. I felt nothing. No rage, no need for revenge. Just a blank, weightless indifference. That's when I knew I'd healed more than I realized. That night, I sat down at my desk, opened my journal, and wrote. I survived her lies, his arrogance, and my silence. I let the truth speak for me, and I walked out with my head up. I didn't just lose a wife, I reclaimed myself. That's the story I'll carry. That's the man I'll be. Then I closed the book. Now, to you, the one who's been watching, listening, reading this entire time, thank you. Maybe you've been through something similar. Maybe you're still in the middle of your own storm. But hear this, you don't have to stay where you were broken. You don't have to keep pretending or forgiving when your heart's already given up. Walk away, quietly, boldly, fully. Let the truth be enough. Let your peace matter more than the drama. Let your boundaries mean something. And if you've ever been lied to and still kept your dignity, then you're already stronger than you think. If you've made it this far, it means something in this story touched you. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Share your story if you're ready. Or just say hi. This channel isn't about gossip. It's about truth and healing and letting go. And if you believe the truth should always be louder than the lie, then you're in the right place.